So ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, traders, friends, family, fans from around the world, people of all ages, backgrounds, creeds, colors, sex, and religions. My next guest is a special guest that I'm really excited to have on the show. We're going to take a little bit of a different turn. The last 5 interviews we've had in a row have been really high-level, in-depth trading discussions about fundamentals, companies, long-terms, charting, analysis, things of that nature. And our next guest is actually one of my personal development coaches. And I had a lot of people who've asked me in the past, because I do coaching for trading and for mindset and for businesses and other things. I had someone ask me, well, who do you have as a coach or performance architect, or who do you have someone, who do you reach out to? So I'm going to be interviewing that particular person. We've done a Zoom session or 2 in the past. So Libby, Pease, how are you? See if you can hear me okay. I think I got you unmuted. Let me make sure I'm unmuted. Got that. Okay. Talking permitted. All right. So you think your microphone should be ready to rock. And if not, then I'll just keep talking until we get it fixed or until we get it updated. Libby's actually from Canada too. So really cool to see and kind of talk about her story. One thing that I really appreciate about Libby is just one of the things is that it's such a different variance to talk to someone who doesn't know anything about you, doesn't know anything about your life story, anything about your background, has no affiliations with who you are or what you do or what you think. And it's just someone that can listen to you. That's important to have, someone who can just have an unbiased, not a friend, right? Someone who can just give it to you how it is and kind of talk through it. So let me see if your microphone works now, Libby. There you go.
Can you hear me now, Jeremy?
Loud and clear.
It was just changing my settings for the microphone that I'm using. Sorry about that.
No worries at all. How have you been, dear?
I have been wonderful. Thank you for asking.
Gorgeous. So this is so exciting for me because, again, normally when we do this, it's just me pouring out my heart to you, telling you all my problems and issues, and you tell me how to fix it. So.
I don't tell you anything. You tell yourself how to fix it. That's the joy of it.
That is very fun. So Libby, just tell everyone a little bit about yourself. Where are you from? Your background? What do you like doing? What's your specialty in life? Just give us a little bit of background on you.
Background on me. Well, first off, I live in Canada. I'm in a small hamlet called Bellwood in Ontario, Canada. And one of the great things about living out here is I'm really close to nature, which is a really important aspect for me because that's where I recharge. And I love being out here. And the great thing about the work that I do is that I can do it remotely. So it can be through Zoom, it can be over the phone. And you're probably asking, what is it that I do? And I didn't hear your intro, so I'm not quite sure what you've already told everybody. But I'm a life transformation specialist. So I really support individuals to be able to transform their life from something that may not necessarily be working for them right now to where they want to be, to really connect with those outcomes that they want within their life.
Yes. And what my goal to bring you on was, we talked about, but I want to share with everyone else, my main goal and mission to have you here is just to get some really, really deep insights to figure out how you think, why you think that way, how you help people along their journey, some of the questions that you ask, and maybe anyone else out there who has a question, like a deep question. I want to get deep in this discussion. I want to go through some philosophical boundaries and some mental breakthroughs and some hurdles, because Libby and I have had many discussions over the last few weeks and months. And we've had some breakthroughs that I've just felt have been so monumental. And like she mentioned earlier, a lot of it is just her helping me realize how to talk myself through my own problems, but doing it in a way that's guided and doing it in a way that's, that's an expertise. So what kind of background did you have on? How'd you get started in this world?
How did I get started? Oh my goodness. It's kind of a long story. originally I found myself within a very highly controlling organization and relationship and marriage. And at one point I decided I needed to get out. And what basically started there was mental health concerns of my husband at the time. And I ended up going into working in crisis response. So working in distress centers and victim services and all that kind of stuff, victim services, because there actually was some domestic violence that was happening there as well. So I used that experience to be able to move forward in helping other people. And at one point in the distress center that I was working at, we needed to shift things. We needed to be able to approach individuals who are calling on a regular basis to be able to get them out of a slump. They seem to be sort of stuck in that same narrative, and we wanted to support them to be able to do something different. And so we're like, what kind of skill sets could we get into that? And we discovered solution-focused conversation. And that really was that defining moment where I was like, I love this stuff. So I'm not just there when someone's in crisis. I am actually supporting them to not really ever have to go into crisis again, because it's approaching problems in a very, very different way. So from that point, I decided to learn more about solution-focused coaching, and went through the program for that. And that's I base my private practice on Ericksonian coaching style. So I mean that's basically in a nutshell how I got to where I am today, because I really want to be able to be there as a catalyst for individuals to move forward in where they want to be, not just, pulling them out from the mud when they get stuck. It's
Mm-hmm.
more than that. And I basically work myself out of clients, because I teach the individuals that I work with how to do this for themselves.
Yeah, you've done a great job, and you and I have many sessions left, and we'll continue doing it. But my question initially is, you mentioned the word crisis. So how would you define the word crisis? Like, how would someone know, as easy as that might sound, that they are in a crisis?
The easiest explanation of what a crisis is when your resources, your coping mechanisms, the people around you that are there as a support, that all of that isn't enough, that what you're going through and the emotions that you're feeling are beyond your ability to cope. So then you are in crisis. But the interesting thing about crisis is that it is a turning point. Things will never be the same after a crisis as they were before. So there is that opportunity as well as that danger at that pivotal point that really shifts people's lives. And it can shift people's lives in many different ways. It could be a positive way and it could be a negative way.
Yeah, that's true. A lot of people will say that crisis is they always associate that as a negative thing. It doesn't have to be. A crisis could be a positive thing. And I think that's a cool twist that you mentioned. That's something else that you really, really helped me a lot with. And I'd like to just talk a little bit about that is some of the words that we use to define certain things in our life. We come up with our own definitions of words, terminologies, and usages. And those definitions mean something to us as people. So right now, you're talking to thousands of people who trade the stock market, either full-time or for a living, either in Canada or the US or any other parts of the world. But the interesting thought about that is we do so many things as traders or so many things as humans that we have created ourselves. And we will use words and terminologies that we have defined and created in our minds that can easily hold us back from realizing something we haven't thought of before. Why is that?
Absolutely.
Why do we do that?
So you have your own limiting beliefs, and you're like, okay, I have done things this way forever. So there's no other way to do it. Or I don't believe that I could be beyond this. And one of the great things about what I do is that I encourage that creativity, that imagination that allows people in a very safe place to be able to expand and see you're capable of so much more than what you believe right here in the moment.
Man, I mean, we say that, right? People always say that we're capable and there's so much more we can achieve, but how does someone go about actually believing it?
Well, I mean, the mind is an amazing thing, right? What you believe, what you think, is powerful, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you believe, let's say you're not worthy, then you will always see and be able to find things within your environment in your day-to-day that will, basically say, yeah, no, I'm not worthy. That just proves it right there. But the same thing goes on the other side, right? So if you believe that you're worthy, if you believe you can do certain things, then you will find proof that you can do it. And if you imagine it, if you are able to visualize it, you can make it happen.
Let's talk about that, not being worthy thing for a moment. What does that actually mean? Like, how would someone, or why would someone, because that there's no way that's a conscious thing. That has to be subconscious, because I don't think I would argue that there's probably not that many people out in the world who are like, I'm not worthy of receiving this. Or is that the case? I don't know.
I think there's many, many people, if not all people at some point in their life, have felt unworthy of something within their life. And it could be something that's been passed down. So your parents or your guardians, whoever they may be, might have had their own misgivings about what they were capable of doing or what they were worthy of, and they pass that along to their children. It could also be what has been told to you by people that you respect, and you start internalizing that, and then that becomes something that you believe is true when it's not. It's not. You're worthy of so much more. And when you believe that you're worthy of it, then you're able to see it. You're able to, create it in a lot of ways.
How does someone go about believing that, though? Like, what's that step?
Well, I mean, that is, the step can be as simple as, doing like a gratitude journal, right? Let's say, just the example, if you get up in the morning, you stub your toe and you say, okay, I'm going to have a bad day. And it continues to be a bad day because you kind of sort of create a bad day for yourself. But if you start with gratitude, I'm grateful that I had a good night's sleep, or I'm grateful that my alarm clock actually worked this morning. Starting with those little pieces, and then you start looking for other things to be grateful for, that can really shift your perspective in not finding the stuff that is going wrong, but finding the stuff that is going right for you within that day. And then that will snowball as well.
That's an interesting that you brought that up, because I think that was one thing that helped me make a few small shifts in my life, was having a gratitude journal. Full disclosure, I definitely did not use it every day. I did not write down in every day, but I tried. And that was the thing. Like, you might not do it every single day, but you can try. And having the ability to sit down and actually think of things, and I know you know this, Libby, but for me, I'm a very, very literal person. So I'm sitting there thinking about things I'm grateful for. I'm like, man, I'm so happy that my AC worked last night, or I'm so happy that I have running water, or that I have electricity, or that I have a bed to sleep in. Like, I'm very literal. And that, to me, it just helped me like the things that I have more. And it also helped me realize the things that I don't want or need in my life, like actual physical items. Like, if I didn't think of something I'm grateful for, why do I really have it?
Yeah, it just turns into clutter, and it's something that's, you know, clutter in your life, and it what's the word for it? It sort of doesn't help with the flow of what you want within your life, and you are a person who creates your life. So if you're looking at the positive things, yes, the AC. Yes, I'm grateful to have my fuzzy slippers. Oh, I'm grateful to, have the birds, be able to have an office that I can look outside and watch the birds. Those things can shift everything. Absolutely.
Ah, like that. Let's talk about fear for a moment.
Mm.
What do you think what do you think could be a cause for why people hesitate and don't act on something? What would that fear be?
Oh, fear is such a huge thing. It's a huge motivator or a demotivator in so many different ways. Fear can come up, but one thing that I find amazing is that all behaviors, including, behaviors that stop you, like the fear that stops you, there's always a positive intention behind it. So fear could be there as a protection for you, that at some point in your life, extending yourself, taking that leap, taking that risk is something that, you shouldn't do. We want to protect you, so you're afraid of doing that. Now, there's fear that you need to have, like, you're not going to jump off a cliff without a bungee cord, being attached to something, or having a parachute or something like that. But fear, fear really does, hold you back, but it's more there as a protection. And when you get to the bottom of what you need to be protected from, then it can shift everything. So let's say it's there for protection. So if you were protected fully and completely, what would be beyond that you would need? And you get closer and closer and closer to the core of what it is that you need in your life, the desire that you have. It could be something like creativity, peace, or joy, or those kinds of things. That once you have that feeling, once you felt that in your body, then suddenly that fear doesn't have the same kind of energy or hold on you, and you're able to take those risks that will help propel you forward in the outcomes that you want from your life. And I see there's some chats here. Jeremy, I can't hear you.
Sorry, that was just me chatting with the mute button on. My apologies.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, sorry. So I was saying, Mark posted something in the chat pane about fear. So let me read that really quick. Mark said, fear is not real. The only place that fear can exist is in our thoughts of the future. It is a product of our imagination, causing us to fear things that do not at the present and may not ever exist. That is near insanity. Do not misunderstand me. Danger is very real, but fear is a choice. That's from Will Smith, which is beautiful.
Yeah.
Because, at the moment, I think I love that distinction. A lot of people might have the distinction of, well, shouldn't I be afraid of something like losing all of my money, or my house burning down and my kids getting injured? Absolutely. That's a danger. But fear is your decision, your choice that you get to act on, of if you should pull the trigger on a specific choice or not, or a specific decision or not, because you're afraid of the outcome of that decision.
Yeah. And I mean, really getting to the core of what it is that you're afraid of. Are you afraid of failure? Are you afraid of, losing everything? Are you afraid of, you know, achieving. Oh my goodness. I mean, it's quite
Ooh.
interesting that, you know, people are afraid of failing, but, you know, in so many cases, people are afraid of not of actually achieving it, of winning, of
Yeah.
actually making it happen. So they'll put, you know, wrenches in the works so to sabotage themselves so that they don't win. And I find that quite interesting as well.
Ooh, yep. So let me ask you this question. You probably, I know we've talked about it before, but I don't know if we've delved into this exact topic, but why do you think myself and others at a point in our life, so let's say me 8 years ago, why was I afraid of investing in myself or going out and working with someone greater than myself to get information and to learn? Why was that? Why was I afraid to invest in myself, do you think?
Well, that can happen for so many different reasons. It could be, you know, at some point in your life you were told that, you know, don't outshine somebody else. It could be that worthiness piece as well, that, you know, you've gotten to this point, just be satisfied with this, and don't go beyond that. You're just being greedy or whatever.
Hmm.
Um, so I mean, those kinds, like, call them like gremlins, you know, back in the 80s movies, you know,
Yeah.
it's those little nattering things that are talking to you within your mind. And it could be something that was drilled into you as a child. It's amazing how many of those things that were told to us, or, you know, poster boards that you internalize, really do have an effect on you as you continue throughout your life. But it gets to the point where, if you can give yourself the permission just to imagine what it would be to be beyond that, and be able to placate, be able to, you know, say, okay, gremlin, it's all right, take a look at this, it's not as bad as we thought, uh, then you can really move beyond that. But the investment part, you know, investing in yourself, a lot of it is that worthiness piece, and that fear of, if I invest in myself, will I be myself? Will I, you know, be beyond the people that are around me now? Will they still be there when I've made all of these shifts? Is it worth the risk of letting them go if they're not? So there's a lot of fear that can happen there.
Interesting. You know, I think you're right. I think the one, and what's crazy is that most of this is subconscious. We don't actively think about it.
No.
It's in our dreams, or it's just somewhere deep, tucked away. Which, again, I want to say that it's been an absolute honor and privilege to work with you on that, because that's, you know, going through my subconscious and going through my beliefs and my belief system and the things that I believe or believed without even thinking about them is kind of outrageous in its own self. But I think you're right. One of the reasons I was afraid of that for such a long time was because I was worried about becoming amazing, right? I was taught not to be the smartest or the richest or the fastest, not to brag, always be humble. Don't tell people how great you are. Don't do this.
Don't
Don't
rise
do that.
above.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't exactly. It's you should work hard. You should strive for greatness, but don't be the greatest. Don't tell people you're the greatest. Like, well, what if I am, you know,
Yep.
like with Muhammad Ali, like he just believed it. He thought it in his own essence. And when you start believing something, some building blocks and some pieces will come together that will have to form that, and will have to start creating a better version of yourself.
Yeah, and it's quite interesting with that too, is that, you know, the be humble, the don't rise above, you know, just stay in the crowd, don't be seen, all of those things. And I mean, like, from my own history, it was like, you know, there are other people that are smarter and better. Just be part of the crowd. Don't be seen as being an expert with anything, because, you know, then you're being conceited and cocky and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, all
And I
those
was,
words.
you know, and and even shaping the words of, stubborn and determined. They're the same thing, but they have a different connotation on what's being told on who you are. Like I present myself as being a very determined person now, whereas as a child, I was told that I was very stubborn.
That's so true. And then that's why I was kind of talking about the words we use earlier. The word, like I was mentioning earlier, the words we use like truly shape and create our lives. They create our beliefs, our belief systems. It's the words you use will make and determine how much money you make, or how profitable you are in trading, or how happy you are in your relationships. Like the actual words that you use out of your mouth, the things that you say internally and externally will 100% shape who you become.
Yeah, words are extremely powerful. What you say, how you say them, will determine how you react and how you interact with others. And, if you're always saying, I'm on the verge of a big, great breakthrough, then you'll always be on the verge of a big breakthrough, because everything within you will align with that.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're saying, what, I am totally in the flow of successful abundance, then you are going to be totally in the flow of successful abundance, because you are matching the words that you're saying.
I like that. Thomas is mentioning the chat pane. He says, definitely have that subconscious thought that maybe I should be satisfied with things the way they are instead of aiming for more. So what would your advice be on that, Libby?
With that one, it is really looking at it and saying, okay, what is it that I really want? If I just let go of that thought that there's a limit to what I should want, the shoulds, not always very motivating for people. But if you were able to just free flow and allow yourself to imagine, to dream, where is it that you would like to be? What is it that would be satisfying? And be able to just allow yourself to freely create that. And then that really shifts those boundaries of what you are satisfied with and where you want to go with that. It's about bringing that creativity back from when you were a kid. I mean, we're not encouraged as adults to be creative anymore.
Oh yeah. So it's well, because that's dumb. Like, why should you be creative? That's stupid. And I want to go ahead and, again, ladies and gentlemen, just kind of pour out my heart for a moment. That's something that Libby really, really helps me with, and be okay with understanding myself. This one takeaway that I had, this one breakthrough, to use that term, one of the breakthroughs, one of my limiting beliefs was that I was not creative. You remember when we had that discussion, Libby?
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, "Oh, you're not creative. That's cool. So why are you not creative?" And she was asking me these questions, and I was trying to explain to her how I'm not creative. And at the end of it, I'm like, "This is really dumb because I feel like I'm insanely creative." And she's like, "Why are you creative then?" And you start asking all these questions, but that was magnificent for me, because I truly know now that I am amazingly creative, just not how I define the word creative. I thought creative people wrote music and played guitars and sang really well and painted drawings and pictures and were creative visually, or visually, or with music. But I'm creative with my words and my thoughts and my actions.
Absolutely.
But it was just crazy that I never put that puzzle together. It was just so frustrating. And when I had that session with you, I was just thought to myself, that is so liberating to just be open and tell people, yeah, I'm very creative. And ever since that,
creativity is the, being innovative, is thinking around corners. It's all of those different ways of approaching things. Creativity doesn't have to just be the, graphic arts or the visual arts or the performing arts.
Yeah, I know that, but apparently I didn't. Apparently I didn't know that. That's what's wild. So I'll say again, thanks for sharing that with me, and having that breakthrough with me together. That was great, because that was worth it all right there. I mean, just having the like I said on the intro that you weren't able to hear because of the microphone. I was just saying that it was the fact that you have the ability to talk to someone that me and you have never met. We just simply have had our phone conversations and our Zoom conversations and our work throughs and our sessions together. And you're just unobjectively, you don't know me, I don't know you. I'm paying you a lot of money and you're helping me because you're an expert and you're really, really good in your field. And I'm getting value. That was something else that I always also felt for a long, long time is like, if I spent money on something, then I have less money. And that was the end of the equation, right, Libby? Like my brain just stopped that equation there. Like I have $1,000, here's $1,000, now I'm less $1,000. And I didn't even think about the other side of it. I was like, what am I receiving for that? And that was just the thing too, that was just really, really monumental for me to just think through that energy. It's just transfer of energy. And that's why I love the fact that, that growth happens over a period of time. Tracy has a really good question for you. She says, how do you get to a point where it is no longer something you are deliberately telling yourself and you actually believe? So you're talking about the creative part. When I was saying like, hey, I'm creative. How do you actually get to a point where you believe that rather than just saying things out loud? Like, oh, I'm abundant. Abundance is everywhere. How incredible. I deserve more money because I'm great. Like how long should you say that, or what should you do to make that a reality?
Yeah, it's more than just saying that. It is giving yourself an experience of what it is like when you are there. So if you, like one of the things that I have as my own goal for the future is it's my own retreat. It's a retreat for individuals who really want to take that intensive time to really create the life that they want. So it would be a physical place. And if I put myself in a situation where I'm imagining myself there, it's already created. I can smell the smells. I can, taste the air or taste whatever it is that I'm eating in the moment. I can feel the breeze. I can connect with the people that I'm connecting with. When you have that whole body experience of knowing what it is like to be there, to have experienced that, your brain can't tell the difference between something that you have created in your imagination and something that is a memory. So that works to your advantage in the future, in the sense that if you've already done something, you know that you've done it, you experienced it, you know you're going to do it again, you have the confidence to be able to move forward with that one more time. So with that, you've experienced it already within your imagination. Therefore, your confidence is there and you will make it happen because you know you can do it.
And I think that's a great piece of advice. And so for me too, one of the things that I've done is tell other people those same phrases like out loud, and just see what their reaction was. So for example, when I'm talking about just using an example of creativity, I would go and ask someone, do you think I'm creative? And just have them tell me. And if you can get that feedback from someone else, so it really, really helps solidify how you may or may not feel about something. Another example would be if you ask somebody, do you believe there's an abundance of money in the world? And just get their reaction, get their thoughts. If you're trying to get an understanding of money or an abundance of love, I mean, money is just an energy. And just like love is an energy, you can't have too much love. So if A equals B, right? If money is an energy, you can't have too much money. You can't have too much love. Go get more.
Yep.
Why stop yourself?
You can't have too much success, whatever that success happens to be for you, how you define it. Right? Yeah.
Yep. You're totally correct. And that's one of those things where it's really impactful and beneficial just to be able to see that and hear it and do some form of experience with it, like with the abundance tactic. to go out to people who might not have as much as you have, whatever it is that you have a lot of. Maybe it's food, maybe it's hugs, maybe it's money, maybe it's time, maybe it's energy, maybe it's gifts, right? And go give those to people who don't have it, and just experience that joy of giving without expecting anything in return. Like if you want to fill your abundance meter, go do that somehow.
And I like Tracy's comment there, emotional muscle memory. And it's more than just emotional muscle memory. It is your entire experience muscle memory. Because yes, it's the emotions that you bring up. Yes, it's your senses that you bring up, but it's a body energy. As you said, Jerremy, it's that exchange of energy. And when you have that energy and it exudes from you, you can get it again because you've been there.
Exactly. Yep. Totally correct. If anyone else has any questions for Libby, maybe just a question about your own life, let me know. Here's a fun one. Does anyone ever ask, like, if you have a coaching session, what is the meaning of life?
42. I couldn't help it. The meaning of life is different for everybody. So I basically ask the question back to them, what is the meaning for your life? And really get to the core of what is important, what their values are, and be able to create that picture of what a meaningful life is for them. Because it's going to be very individual.
Yeah, well, absolutely. I mean, it has to be, because that's, we are individuals. So it's going to require something very specific and very, very focused. Alan says, we are all creative. It's just a question of positively or negatively creative. Our creativity determines which way we are moving, forward or backwards. Mm-hmm. Negatively creative. I never thought about that.
Yeah, you could be negative. Like negatively creative is that, how do I put the wrench in the works so this doesn't happen? Right?
But no one does that consciously, though, do they?
They could. Just think back to, maybe university or high school or whatever. The last time you had an exam and you were just like, oh my gosh, I hate this exam. And then you find creative ways to not study and then you fail, right?
Okay. Right. Like drinking a 12-pack of Coors Light on the night of your exam.
Yeah.
You should study for.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. Makes sense. I mean, I never did that. That was just an example. No, that was a friend who told me that he did that once. Would you consider like robbers or people who that would be a negative creative thing, I think, huh?
Well, I mean, they are creatively finding ways to get what they want in life, right? Yeah. It may not be connected to society in the way that we want them to act, but they want more money. They're finding creative ways to find money, so they're robbing or whatever. So the behavior that they have, the positive intention behind that is helping them to be able to make the money that they want. It's not positive for the rest of society, but
right.
It's still working for them.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Alan, for sharing that. Because you're right, Mr. Stakem. That's something new for me today, is learning that you can have a negative creativity, you can have positive creativity. I knew that there was negative ways to go about doing something. I just didn't think about it as a negative creative resource. But you're absolutely right. I think that's a really, really good way to put it.
Well, I mean, even if you think about habits that are considered, bad for your health or whatever, like smoking, right? Why did we start smoking to begin with? Well, it was a social thing. We wanted to be social and connect with the crowd that we felt was going to help us to be able to move forward in whatever it was at the time. Or, I mean, some companies, you're not allowed to take a break unless you're having a smoke break. So, if you want a break, you need to pick up the habit, right? So, I mean, there are still positive intentions behind all of those behaviors.
Interesting. I have another gentleman sharing a really beautiful comment. I'll read that. He says, I do that with relationships. I think because after my father died and my mom has been alone for so long, I feel obligated that I should be alone too, so she isn't by herself, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm. And it does make sense. It does make sense. And I mean, one of the things my mom, she lost her mom at 14. Oh no, she was 11. Yeah, and our relationship was fine until I turned 11, and then she didn't know what to do with me. Right? Because she didn't have the example of, what do I do after 11 years old, even though there's lots of mentors and that kind of thing. So if you get to the core of that, and find out you don't want your mom to be lonely, so you will be lonely with her. It's shifting that perspective so that you can support her in finding, because you might find in a lot of ways that she's not lonely. She might actually be very active, and I'm not quite sure. I'm just speculating in that situation. But you putting yourself in that situation where you're doing that is not actually saving her, but you're feeling like you're connecting in that kind of way. And there's lots of ways to get beyond that, that we could talk about within an individual session that's pretty individualized. And I would ask you some pretty cool questions to help you move forward with that.
Yes, and I think that's something you've done a great job with too. Just me is just asking those very specific questions and making me think through something that I've never thought through that way before. That was really fun and super beneficial and massively helpful to just go through a certain list of ideas and scenarios and questions that I might not have thought before, and kind of help me guide to my answer, because you don't have all the answers. You don't have any answers. Mostly it's other people are going to have their own answers.
Yeah. And I use this analogy. I was like, I have two brothers, and we grew up in the same household, apparently the same rules and all that kind of stuff. But what my answers would be and what my brother's answers would be are totally different. Totally different. So how could I have the answers for anyone else who I haven't had a shared experience with? It's impossible. Mm-hmm. You're the one that has all of those keys, all of those aspects. So what I do is I ask those questions that really make you think, not the surface answers, not the, I'm fine, or that quick answer. It's those questions that just make you think, I have to think about that, and giving you space in order to be able to process through that. So, I mean, for Nitro, for that one, what is it that you really want?
Yeah, and that's well, we can do this. There's so many ways we can go down, so many paths we can go down. What would be something that you would like to share as well, Libby, just about another takeaway that people could have from you while you're here? A nice revelation of sorts.
Well, I what I find interesting is that so many people have gone through life and never really sat down and found out what is it that's truly important to you as an individual, what your real values, core values are. Because people will find themselves triggered left, right, and center, and they're like, that was out of the blue. I don't know why I got upset about that, or why that just made me feel so happy. Those elements that trigger you either in a very positive way or in a negative way are your core values. And when you understand what those are and you align that with the things that are important to you, everything else in your life truly flows. Then you are focused on goals and outcomes that really make sense and resonate with who you are and what you want to move forward to.
Taking notes. That's good stuff. That is good stuff. What How would someone go out reaching out to you? Like, what if they want to connect with you or talk with you? I know you sent me a link. Is that the link that you want people to use?
Yeah, absolutely. So
Okay.
private chat with Coach Libby is probably the best way to start. And then I can get an overview of what it is that you want. You get a free hour with me.
No way, really?
In that session, aren't I kind?
Nice.
And then from there, then I can really find out what is it that you want, what are the things that are holding you back, what are the outcomes that you'd like to see in your life, and if you're not sure at all, then we can really create packages that would make sense for you to help you move forward to where you want to go.
Okay. So at least I'll throw that link in the chat pane just in case anybody wants to have an hour with Libby. I will say this, again, I love saying the word full disclosure. I paid Libby a lot of money to go through, and we've had, how many sessions we have left? 12?
Yeah, we've got 12 sessions.
So I've done 18 sessions, and by the third one, I had already felt like I had some monumental, life-altering mental accomplishments that I felt like were worth all of the time and energy that I spent with Libby. So again, if you want to work with someone that I work with, if that's important to you, I would just at least chat with her just to find out if you guys have anything that you could discuss and figure out some type of breakthrough on, just because it's fun and it's exciting to invest in yourself and to learn one or two, maybe three nuances that you didn't know in the past and that you could get better at in the future.
Yeah.
So I'll put the link in the chat pane. I'll also put it in the description box if you guys want to chat and connect with Libby. Any other questions? If anyone has any questions or any statements that you want to throw in to the chat pane, go for it.
I just want to put a point in there that over the next week I have a few sessions of those left, and then I'm going to be unavailable for a couple of weeks. I'm off to Italy, to Florence.
That's right. You're going to Italy. That's right.
So if you want to get in, there's some benefit to getting in with a session with me before I go, because I have some great opportunities before I leave for Italy. So feel free to get on that link, and make sure you set your time zone on there, and that's what's going to get you in to see the different sessions that are available right now.
I love that. Love that. That's wonderful. And I think, congrats. Have you gone to Italy before? I can't remember if you've been.
I haven't been to Italy before. I have traveled quite a bit before. I've been down to Costa Rica. I've been to England and Scotland and to France.
Okay.
So this is going to be exciting. Italy is going to be a new one for me.
So we got like 5 or 6 minutes left. Just walk through your process, if it's okay, Libby, of just telling people how you got and picked Italy, and then specifically how you went about going there. I mean, because everyone loves to travel, and everyone who's listening, they want to travel more. They want more money to travel. They want more resources to travel. They love traveling. So walk me through that just a little bit. Like why Italy? Where Italy?
Well, that's kind of an interesting story, because I am a reluctant traveler. Like I did travel quite a bit as a youth, because my parents really
as a youth,
and as an adult I hadn't been doing much of it. But in my own development, because becoming a life transformation specialist, going through those coaching pieces, you have to overcome some of the things of your own before you're going to ever ask someone else to be able to go through that. So one of the things that I needed to do was get over my fear of traveling by myself. Okay. And I was terrified. So, the first time I went down, and as a Canadian, sometimes going to different countries can be daunting. And I actually my first trip was down to California right after the present president of the United States was sworn in. So that for me was quite daunting. I wasn't quite sure what things were going to be like. I'd been over to Michigan a number of times, but that's just driving over the border. That's not flying down to a state that I've never been to. So that was my first step with that. And then I do have a business coach to help, propel me forward as well. And I will always have a coach as well to help me get beyond my own boundaries, because there's always so much more to get involved with. And she has retreats in different places. So last year was Costa Rica, and I'm afraid of heights. And I did zip lining, like 7 kilometers worth of zip lining down in Costa Rica. And this year it's Italy. So I'm really excited to be, going and expanding myself as well as I do this, because for some reason going down to Central America was easier than flying over to Europe by myself. So there's always stretching and growth for everyone. And if there is something in your life that you would love to do but you're like not quite sure about doing, stretching can be an amazing thing, because there's a reason why you're longing for it.
Yeah. I forget who said that, but it was something to the extent of, if you're terrified of it, that's probably exactly what you should do.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Like,
overcome my fear of heights and everything while I was down there. So I'm looking forward to seeing what's next.
Yeah. All right. I love it. Well, next, at some point you're going to come down to Nashville, or I'm going to come up there, and we're going to hang out.
Absolutely.
At some point. I love it. All right. Well, Libby, thank you for being a part of our session today. That was a really good, just mental reprieve from the day. And I appreciate your insights and your information and your generosity and just, again, your help. Thank you for spending so much time with me over the last few months in the past and months in the future. So I love it. Thank you.
Okay. And what I'm going to be doing, thank you so much, Jeremy. I'm just typing as I'm talking here.
Yep.
I'm going to put my email in here as well. So if anyone has any questions afterwards, you can feel free to email me and ask me any questions that you have. It's going to be great to be able to connect with all of you in the private chat. And thank you so much, Jeremy, for this opportunity to be able to speak with you in front of everybody.
My pleasure. Absolutely. And yep, you're very welcome. So thanks for being here, Libby. And for all the traders from around the world, all the people from around the world who are tuning in, it's always a good experience to just, again, invest in yourself, think through what you want to do, reach out to people who might be able to assist you or push you in some form or fashion. And, working with Libby was a great investment of my time and my money and my resources, and has been really helpful for me. And it's good. So anything that can help your trading, because in order to become a better trader, in order to become a more profitable trader, you're going to have to battle certain things inside of yourself, certain fears, hurdles, beliefs, goals, values. All of those things will come to the surface. All of those things will happen, and you'll be scared, and you'll be worried, and you'll be panicked, and you'll be upset, terrified. But there's always an opportunity for some way to break through and come up with your own set of answers that can propel you to where you want to be. Folks, thanks for tuning in. Had a great day. I don't know if anyone took that Amazon bounce or not, but if you did, congratulations. That was a beautiful, beautiful move on Amazon. And this is where I would exit and just take my 2 R's at a new high of the day. Gorgeous, beautiful, sensational trade with the bounce on Amazon. So Jim, Dennis, congrats. Folks from around the world, thanks for tuning in. You rock. I'll see 98% of you later for Energy Wednesday in the afternoon swing trading room. And until then, love life, and trade it.